Hello and welcome to the Life Tools podcast. In school, we learned history and algebra, foreign languages and chemistry, but nobody taught us tools for life. How do we deal with self-doubt? What are beliefs and how do they influence us? How do we find ourselves when we feel lost? And how do we make a healthy decision? Many people learn these things much later in life, after 3, 4, even 5 decades of existence, and often the hard way. For a few, like myself, I had to learn them very early. I created this podcast to share with you the tools that have helped me greatly in my own life. They're small actions anybody can take that bring big results over time. Let's get to it. For this very first episode, I want to talk about a practice that I started doing when I was about 17 or 18, when I was at the very lowest of my life. And this practice I did specifically to address my, what was at the time, super low self-esteem. I actually wrote an article on this one a few weeks ago, so I'm just gonna read part of that article and then add a few other things after. I remember being in university, depressed, suicidal, a shell of a person. I hated school, I hated my course, I hated my environment, I hated myself. I had zero confidence. I wanted a better life but couldn't imagine ever having one. I wanted a job in the future that would make me excited to get out of bed every morning, but I didn't know what it would be and felt I had no skills anyway, because that's what my dad told me. I wanted to be like the pretty, confident, intelligent TV host I stalked everywhere online, but that felt like asking an ant to sprout wings and fly to the sky. And then I discovered a practice from a spiritual teacher whose teachings I still follow to this day. This practice doesn't take much time at all, but can completely change your self-image. I call it the What I Love About Myself list. There are no rules except that you do it regularly. Daily, if possible. Where I was at the time, daily was what I needed. I needed the constant reinforcement. I had had at least 18 years of daily criticism from people around me, so reprogramming my brain was going to take the same intensity, if not more. You can write anything, as long as it's genuine and you actually believe it, or are at least open to the idea. It can be about your physical body, your intelligence, funny quirks you have, skills big and small. Anything. So here's an example. I love the curve of my hips. I love that I don't gain weight easily. I love my collarbones. I love that I'm a big reader. I love that I'm kind and compassionate. I love that I don't give up when things get hard. I love that I can cook a mean lasagna. I love that I can spend time with myself. I love that I love to learn. And I love that I know how to keep a space clean. I remember that when I started, I could hardly come up with anything. Even reaching 5 things took great effort. If you experience the same thing, don't get discouraged. It will get easier, I promise. Patience and consistency are key. If it's really too difficult at the outset, allow yourself to write what good things other people say about you, even when you don't necessarily believe them yet. I remember writing, X says I have a great smile, even though at the time I couldn't see what was so great about my smile. Now I do believe it. It's become one of the things I appreciate about myself. You don't have to rack your brain for a different list each time. In fact, I would suggest repeating the same things in the beginning and adding other things as they come to you. This will force you to pay attention to your assets. Don't rush through the process and don't do it around other people if the possibility of them knowing what you're doing makes you uncomfortable. As a complement to this practice, go through your day tuned in to what is good about you. Pay attention to when people compliment you, even if it's just your handwriting is really nice. Nothing is ever too small. Low self-esteem is nothing but a low opinion about yourself. This low opinion is a result of repeatedly hearing negative comments from other people over an extended period. Gradually, their opinion of you became your opinion of you. But an opinion is subjective. It's not necessarily true. So if we're going to play the game of opinions, we might as well play it to our favor. Surrounded every day and everywhere by opinions, we can select the ones that are positive and good for us, the same way we would put on our plate only food we like at a buffet restaurant. Changing how you see yourself is all about changing your focus. Focus on the good, and you will inevitably develop a better opinion about yourself over time. It doesn't mean you don't see the negative. You can hear the negative, choose to change if you wish, but not let it define you. So put aside some quiet time every day to write your own "What I Love About Myself" list. It might seem trivial and kind of corny, but it changed my life. It just might change yours. So that's the end of my article. Here are a few things I want to add. What I've discovered about my recovery from suicidal depression, from bulimia, from compulsive overeating disorder, and many other things is that major life change happens from implementing small but consistent actions. You could very easily ignore these actions because, well, they're small, but I like the analogy of an airplane flying 1 degree off course. If the plane continues like this for hours, it will end up in a completely different direction. Going back to the process, I want to explain that this is a two-part process. First is taking control of how you see yourself by choosing to focus on the positive. And second is reminding yourself that if someone told you 10 years ago that you were stupid and that you would never amount to anything, well, that was their opinion, more to do with their idea of the world than who you are objectively. I want to share a bit of my own personal story so that you understand this better. I am Asian, born in Asia. Growing up, I was told I am very irritable, have no skills, I am useless, I will never achieve anything because I have a strong personality, and I would throw a fit in front of my future boss, and therefore I would be fired and nobody would ever want me. My family also hated that I questioned the rules, that I didn't resonate with the Catholic religion, that I was not docile. For a traditional Chinese family, the perfect woman is a woman who is pretty, has long hair, knows how to cook, does not long for a career of her own, and spends all her energy waiting hand and foot on her husband. So you can imagine how very out of place, how very rejected I felt. And then in my teens, I was lucky because I started traveling solo. I met people from the West, and I discovered that they appreciated me. More importantly, they appreciated the very things that my family criticized me for. This was absolutely revolutionary for me because it taught me that, hey, these people's opinions are different from my family's opinions. These people appreciate that I'm sensitive because they see that it allows me to connect with people. They love that I have a strong personality because for them this is attractive. This is the mark of a woman who knows how to think for herself. They don't want someone who's just a follower. So know this, what you've heard people say about you, positive or negative, are opinions. Opinions differ according to culture, to a person's worldview, to needs, to many factors. Given this, are you going to choose to see yourself through the eyes of those who dislike you or through the eyes of those who appreciate you? If you have low self-esteem, then you know through whose eyes you've been looking at yourself. You have the choice to change perspectives. This is a choice you can make now, and you can use the "What I Love About Myself" list as a first step. Don't underestimate the power of small but consistent action. So go do it consistently, and watch how it changes you.